I think someone was living in my attic. About 2 years ago, I moved into a small old house on the edge of town. It was cheap, quiet, and honestly perfect for someone like me, who worked from home and didn't go out much. The landlord mentioned the house had been empty for a while, but it looked fine. Nothing seemed broken, nothing felt weird. For the first few weeks, everything was normal. Then I started hearing noises at night. At first, it sounded like small creaks above the ceiling, which I assumed were just the house settling or maybe animals on the roof. The house was old, so I didn't think much of it. But after a few nights, the sounds started to feel different. Not random creaks. Footsteps. Slow, careful footsteps moving across the ceiling above my bedroom. The first time I noticed it clearly, I sat up in bed and just listened. The sound stopped immediately, like whoever or whatever was up there realized I was awake. I told myself it had to be a raccoon or something. The next morning, I grabbed a ladder and checked the attic hatch in the hallway ceiling. It was closed exactly how it had always been. Still, I opened it and climbed up with my phone flashlight. The attic was small and dusty, filled with old insulation and wooden beams. There were no animals, no nests, nothing moving. But there was something strange. A small pile of empty food wrappers in the corner. Granola bars, instant noodle cups, water bottles. They looked recent. I stood there staring at them, trying to convince myself maybe the previous tenant left them behind. But that didn't explain the noises. That night, I barely slept. Around 2 a.m., I heard the footsteps again. This time, they were slower, and they stopped directly above my bed. I stayed completely still, barely breathing. Then I heard something scrape across the ceiling, like someone carefully lowering something. A thin line of light suddenly appeared on the ceiling above me. I realized with horror that it was coming from the attic hatch. Someone had opened it slightly, just enough to look down. I stared at that thin crack of light for what felt like hours. Eventually, it slowly closed again. The footsteps moved away. The next morning, I called the police. When they searched the attic, they found a sleeping bag, more food wrappers, and a backpack. Someone had been living up there. But the worst part? The officer asked me a question that still bothers me to this day. He said, "If they were living up here for weeks, how did they know when you were asleep?"